I wanted to take a minute to highlight accessibility when we look at it through the lens of ableism and especially the connections to special education. So if you've looked ahead, you might notice that one of your discussion prompts, one of your choices for this week, is to take a look at the definition of ableism through our 3 resources. One of them is the Oregon Schools PDF that I shared that's uploaded in our module. The other source would be from the interview with Rebecca Tausig, and I think she does an amazing job of talking about her lived experience. But also, there's a lot of strong definitions of ableism in our text in Chapter 4 of Demystifying Disability. I want to connect that to special education by also looking at Emily Ladau's definitions of accessibility. If you've read Chapter 4, or if you're about to read Chapter 4, you need to understand how strongly she feels about accessibility. I'm going to read a couple sections to you, and we're going to talk about those connections, especially the connections to those 6 pillars or gears of special education that we pull through from our other text. So kind of sit back, listen, and start thinking about the connections you're making in your brain. Emily Ladau starts to talk about accessibility at the top of page 78 with a real kind of a general hint at what's coming. She says, accessibility encompasses so much more than this. When disabled people can fully use and experience a product or service, that's accessibility. When disabled people can occupy and move about a space freely, that's accessibility. And when accommodations are provided to ensure that both of these things are possible for disabled people, that's accessibility. She's starting to hint at what's coming in the next couple of paragraphs, where she continues to talk about the problems of ableism, the problems of living with a disability, and in which she finally pulls through and talks about accessibility being the secret, not so secret, password to moving beyond ableism. She talks about this as all-encompassing, but I think there was a key word in that last passage that I just read, again from the top of page 78, where she starts to talk about a key word for special education, and that's accommodations equaling accessibility. So let me keep reading. This is at the bottom of page 79, where she continues to define accessibility. Accessibility is about making things more equitable so that disabled people have the same opportunities and support to thrive as do non-disabled people. It's about removing barriers to participation, engagement, and understanding so that all the people, regardless of ability, can experience the world around us to the fullest extent possible in ways that work for our minds and bodies. Accessibility is not about special treatment or privilege. Again, that's from page 79. I'm hoping you're hearing some very key words coming through. In the first passage that I read, one of the words she used for her definition of accessibility was accommodations, which is a key word for special education. In that second passage that I read, Emily Ladau talked about being equitable, having support, removing barriers to participation, engagement, and understanding, which is a key definition to UDL and the Universal Design for Learning. And then she uses the words to the fullest extent possible. That comes right from our pillars of the law. So again, the strength of accessibility to the point where Emily Ladau calls it literally the password to fix the problem of ableism. I have just one more part that I want to read to you, and it really will, I hope, drive home what I'm hoping to have you see as ableism and its key, accessibility, drive right into our future professions of special education. At the top of page 81, she kind of summarizes her definition and summarizes the solution of accessibility by saying this: things don't have to be this way. For that matter, things shouldn't ever be this way. She's talking about some of the real deep problems with ableism she's experienced and others have experienced. Because ensuring accessibility isn't just the right thing to do, it's the law. Unfortunately, far too many people and places have yet to catch up with legal requirements. Inaccessibility remains a widespread systemic issue that's in dire need of fixing. The connection is complete, where Emily Ladau doesn't call out ADA, she doesn't call out IDEA, she doesn't call out Andrew F. case studies, but she straight up pulls it through and says accessibility is the law, and that couldn't be more true than it is for our profession of special education. So I wanted to provide you a little bit about the solution before we dig in deeper to the problems, which is in a couple more slides where I'll highlight some of the opportunities that we have to end ableism in our world, but also in our schools.